how do you respond to those 2 points? Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, I first of all want to seize this opportunity to pay tribute to Congresswoman Bass and this August House and all the congressmen and women who have tirelessly worked in the interests of South Sudan for decades. My name is Ladu Jaragubek, and I'm the chairman of the SPLM party in the United States of America. The lost boys and the lost girls of South Sudan, not longer Sudan, are actually one of our strongest assets as South Sudanese. And I think the education they have acquired should actually translate into actually bettering the lives of South Sudanese people. Not only the lost boys and the lost girls alone, because there are other South Sudanese who have come here in different ways, and they're not called lost boys and lost girls, but they're South Sudanese. And there are those who are born here and now finishing universities. And I strongly believe that there must be a system from this country, the United States of America, to be able to transfer these skills to change the social, cultural, and political system in South Sudan. Because you see in this country, these are South Sudanese. They see themselves as South Sudanese. The Bari, Nuer, Dinka, Shuluk, Zande, whatsoever. That's the rich diversity of our society. And I think what we have acquired in this country should actually be transformed in the Republic of South Sudan.
Thank you.
One last comment that I want to make. I know you are running out of time. But as friends, as we move to this transitional government, we must give the transitional government a peace a chance. Because when we talk about sanctions, it will scare away investors, it will scare away humanitarian assistance, and sanctions actually do not achieve their targeted goal, but rather hurt the innocent civilians of South Sudan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before I take the next question, I'd like to recognize Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who has just entered the room.
I'll take a moment, and that is to thank my colleague and friend. As we were greeting each other, we mentioned again our commitment to traveling to many of the nations, including South Sudan, on an effort to look at the landscape of Africa. But let me conclude my remarks by saying I am wrapped at the hip on these issues of lost boys and lost girls, and knowing of your leadership, seeing so many of you throughout the years, and having been to South Sudan at the moment of the right to return as the buses began to flow, meeting with the the president and the vice president, hoping to push them together toward harmony for the betterment of South Sudan. All things that one wishes for doesn't always occur. We should never give up. We have a great opportunity with the talent that is in this room to give you the infrastructure that hopefully will see the talent, and might I say the giants of the lost boys and lost girls, go back and restore the greatness of South Sudan. Count me as a collaborator and friend, along with my chairwoman, Karen Bass, to make this happen. Thank you.
My name is Joe Anderson, and I'm with Capital Research Associates. I lived and worked for a year in Juba on capacity building. And my question is not just for the members of the panel, but also for anyone from South Sudan and the diaspora here. The members of the diaspora in the United States, I know, the various ethnic communities have organizations for members of that community. And the question I have is, to what degree are those organizations, say Dinka and Nuer, and they're also on regional levels, do they have an initiative to bridge the gap and to work for inter-ethnic communication in South Sudan? And on the other hand, are there examples where these organizations have assisted their ethnic counterparts in South Sudan on a partisan basis? We have a long history in the United States of immigrants assisting factions in their home countries.
Thank you. This has to be the last question. You were standing there.
Yep.
Sir, you are the last question. That is the last question. All right.
And, I'm sorry, may I
Yes, ma'am.
acknowledge all the panelists and ambassadors alike to see you. Thank you for your long-standing work on so many. Thank you so very much.
All right. We've talked about issues of interethnic reconciliation and issues of inclusion for women and girls, institution building, education, engaging and energizing diasporas, and the U.S. foreign policy. I would like to open it up to the members of the panel who would like to address one of those issues that has been raised. Agustino, would you like to begin?
Thank you very much. I have already addressed this somewhat, the question raised by Benjamin, and that's the entrenchment of the international community in the South Sudanese affairs in terms of providing development, sustainable development in the country. And I think he's right. It's definitely clear that most international institutions that go to South Sudan do not seek the support of the local capacity there. And I will give you an example. The World Bank was recently looking for an expert on health. I'm a demographer, and that's what I do. So they contacted me and wanted me to work for them in South Sudan, doing some analytical work in health. So I responded saying I would be interested.
Thank you.
And they requested my documents, so the passport, whatever they were looking for, and I submitted my U.S. passport's first page. They returned it and said, you look like a U.S. citizen, and that has actually implications in terms of your employment. We're going to have to do a background check. You're going to have to make sure you show that you're a U.S. citizen. And so I said, that's okay. So they responded later saying, yes, we will employ you as a U.S. citizen, but the passport is not enough evidence of you being an American citizen. So you have to get a certificate of naturalization. I wrote to the State Department and the U.S. Embassy in Juba, and they said, we have never heard such a question. Because how could you have gotten a passport if you were not a U.S. citizen? I forwarded that to them, and they just told me, sorry, we're just going to have to employ you as a local. I backed out of that offer. Because what that means is that I get paid very low fees, and as a result, I wouldn't take it because I was trained in Wisconsin, and I paid loans. I had to pay loans and stuff like that. And so that's definitely on point, and that has to be addressed.
Princeton?
Well, let me address some of the questions of the term regime change is obviously a very controversial one, and I think we've had enough of armed regime change to know the negative impact of that. But I do think, to be quite honest, that you look at the transformation process that is being proposed in South Sudan, it's hard for me to believe at the end of it that if there isn't elected new leadership, it's going to be very hard to have a transformation. I could be wrong, but I think the outcome of the new constitution and new elections ought to be to bring new leadership to Sudan. We have to see, and it's up to the South Sudanese people to do that. As far as the sanctions are concerned, they have only value if they impact on the people making decisions and if they're enforced in an important way. The arms that are coming into South Sudan are not being used to defend South Sudan against Sudan. They're being used to kill South Sudanese. And the fact that both sides are committing still, fighting going on, it seems to me that and adding to their arms supplies now does not augur well for this peace process. So, and let's be honest, who's selling them the arms? Well, that includes people in the neighboring countries. So everybody's got to decide how much peace matters in South Sudan. And I think getting out of the arms business is one of the ways to demonstrate that.
Thank you. We have 4 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to our panel of now found men and women. David, would you like to give give a departing
Yeah,
comment?
sure. Thank you, Cynthia. I just want to acknowledge two questions. And the question about the absence of the African diaspora in the room. And what I can say about that is everybody else was informed, including the African diaspora. And for me, since I've been in Representative Karen Bass' office, this is my sixth Africa policy breakfast. And I have attended all of the Africa, not just as a staff, but also as an African with that interest. So there was an opportunity for our brothers and sisters from Africa to be here today. They got the message. I cannot speak to why they're not here, but there are a lot of them here too. So exactly. Yes. So I guess, yeah, okay. So as you have seen, the person who asked the question, I think our brothers and sisters are represented in this room, and this is what...
Not represented enough.
Yes, we agree. The last thing I want to make, and before I make that comment, I would also like to acknowledge one of the question that Agustina was just addressing, the issue of the international organizations in South Sudan. I also believe that, non-governmental organizations that work in South Sudan have been commercialized. I had the experience about a year ago where Agustina and I applied for a contract through World Bank, and they offered me the opportunity because at the time Agustina was going to Juba. And this opportunity was to oversee the financial analysis of $100 million contract to South Sudan for the World Bank. But when it comes down to me signing the contract so I can do the work, they said that they wanted to, offer me the contract as a local South Sudanese, but there were other consultants being offered the contract as an American. And I too walk away from that, and I go, so the return of the lost boy, lost girl can do is deny those who have commercialized NGOs work in South Sudan. Because now you have the skills of the young men and women that are able, because look at it this way, they were able to offer me the job, but when it comes down to money, they thought that, they'll pay me less than my other colleague. So I just want to acknowledge that, and this is also true for many other African countries. And that is why we are saying that for South Sudanese, we need to learn how to fish than to be given a fish.
Yes,
Thank you.
Foreign aid to South Sudan has exceeded $1 billion from the U.S. And we need to cut that because we have oil.
Yep. Thank you. Imam, you have 2 minutes for your last comment.
I just want to thank everybody. I didn't get an opportunity to do that earlier. I was a little bit absent-minded from the traffic. This room speaks enough for itself. Obviously, all of us are here committed to South Sudan, not only us young South Sudanese men and women, but also the diaspora and Africa in general. So it's a collective work. We can't do it by ourselves. One hand cannot clap itself, so we need the other side so that we can make it even louder. And so this is wonderful. I just want to say thank you.
All right. Julius?
I guess my question will be about the relationship between the Lost Boys and the American government, and as well as the relationship between the Lost Boys and girls with the government of South Sudan. So let's not just focus the conversation to be between the Lost Boys and girls and the United States government. Let's also engage the government of South Sudan, because if for sure they're interested in our skill, if for sure they value our talent, if for sure they think that we can contribute. Of course, we have contributed in various ways, but if they really need our expertise, which of course we do have, why don't they engage with us? Why they always seem to push us aside? Who is that they're banking on? Is it the international community who are paid a lot of money draining the country? Why can't they value us? Why would they always wait for us to start the conversation? And every time we try, we are just being pushed aside. I'm talking out of experience. I worked at the South Sudan mission before on this long-term or in skill transfer program, and have the information with me, but my hands are tired. I can't discuss a lot of it. It didn't go through. Why? So let us really engage them. I believe the members of the embassy, South Sudan embassy are here and they're listening to this. Let's open the doors, let's engage us, let us bring us in, because it should not just be left to the U.S. government alone. U.S. government has done so much. Just allowing us to be in this country and be able to equip ourselves with this skill is very important. On the same note, let me also acknowledge that let's not just be knocking the doors. Let's also push harder. Let's contribute. What is that we can do? Not what can be done to us, but what can we do? And I just want to, there was a question you asked the gentleman behind you. I know we ran out of time. There's a question he asked about the organizations that are, would you allow that?
No. Yeah, we have no time. We've run out of time.
All right, so, but yeah.
Perhaps on the margins
All
afterwards.
right. Otherwise, thank you all for coming and listening to this conversation.
On behalf of Representative Karen Bass, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. This has been a very interesting and informative and inspiring panel discussion, and I'd like to just ask if we give another round of applause to our wonderful speakers.